AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. I think art and creativity make life bearable, make the world go around, make it possible to endure tough times like these. And I love to lift up the people that are doing that. And today my guest is a returning champion. He was on the podcast in 2016 to talk about his memoir, The Pink Marine, about joining the Marine Corps when he was younger. And that book has now become a Netflix series called Boots. His name is Greg Cope White. His book went through a long journey of development and, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And it actually all came together beautifully. Boots is on Netflix now. It's about his life joining the Marine Corps, but it's also about all the other people that are in basic training with him. And there's different characters that you hook into for different reasons. It's really well done. It's funny. It's got fun music. The actors are great. It's sexy. There's this thing that he does with the gay character that the show does, where there's a gay version and the one that's trying to not be gay, and they have conversations together, and I talked to him about that. And so anyway, I wanted to get Greg back on for this special Thanksgiving episode because I feel like if you haven't watched Boots yet, you can watch it over the holiday. And I just wanted to let Greg talk about the show, and it feels like a victory lap to me, so I wanted to see if that's what it felt like for him to have this moment. But before we get to the interview, I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by me. Occasionally you will hear some commercials, but I get a little money from them, not much. When I see the thing, I'm like, oh, all right, whatever. But anyways, if you want to support it, there's a bunch of fun things you can do. You can go to DennisAnyone.net and leave a tip in my virtual tip jar. There's also a thing there called Buy Me a Coffee, which is cute. You can do that. I also have a Substack and a Patreon called Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. I put out an episode every week, and I talk about some of the same things as this podcast, so it feels a bit like a spinoff. But I end every episode with a little nugget about happiness, about the science of it, about things I've noticed in my own life. And I love that topic. I think we're brought up to believe that if we get what we want, we'll be happy. But what if you don't? Are you just not supposed to be happy? And I kind of asked myself that question a few years ago. And then I started exploring some of the sort of experts on the topic and starting some practices and things like that. And it kind of worked. I was kind of able to get to a better place day to day mentally without having, steady employment or, a love life to speak of. Like, I was able to kind of hack it a little bit. And so I became very interested in this topic, and I love to talk about it. So that's what you'll get on Happy and Gay. It's on Patreon and Substack, the same content on both sides. And you can look it up on there, Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. And also, I post some free stuff there. So there's a $5 subscriber a month thing, but there's also content up there that's for everyone. So I hope you check it out. The other thing is Search Party is the party game that I developed. My friend Jeb Havens, who did You Don't Know My Life with me, he's helping me out with it. We're in the throes of the pre-order campaign. We got the prototype this week. You guys, it looks so cute. We changed the box because we originally did like a flip box, like a cigarette pack or like a box of Milk Duds, and it was not cute. It didn't look good. I mean, it was okay, but it got beat up really easy, and I was like, this isn't cute enough. And so we changed it to a proper box with the lid that comes off, and it cost us a little more money. It took us a little more time, but you guys, it's so cute. So pre-order your game today. It'll help us cover those costs. We still don't know what the tariffs are going to be. Go to youdon'tknowmylife.com/search-party and pre-order a game today. And there's a breakdown for if you get more than one and fun things like that. So I appreciate that. Was there anything else to plug? I can't remember. We did the mismatch game this past weekend. I'm going to talk about it at the end of this podcast. So that doesn't need to happen. Oh, you can become a subscriber to DNR Studios. I'm part of a group of shows, the Derek and Romaine family of crazy queer shows. And for a monthly fee, you get my show early, and you get all these other cool shows on the Derek and Romaine app. So go to dnrstudios.com to learn about that. All right, enough of that business stuff. Let's talk to Greg Cope-White. He is the author of The Pink Marine and one of the writers on the Netflix show that inspired Boots. Joining me now from Santa Monica, it's our returning champion, Greg Cope-White. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me back. I love being a repeat.
I love having you back because I watched the show that's based on your book that we talked about 9 years ago, The Pink Marine. The show is called Boots. It's on Netflix. I just finished watching it a few days ago. I loved it so much. And I was like, I want Greg to be the Thanksgiving episode so people can watch the show and binge it if they haven't. And you pulled it off. I'm like, you did it. Like you talked about, there was a TV deal. I just went back and listened to our old interview. There was a TV, situation brewing. I don't know if it's with different people than it happened, but 9 years later, the show is there. And so I just wanted to talk to you about that and say congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot changed and developed as we did it, as you can imagine. But most of the same people that we started with are who carried it over the finish line. The great Norman Lear, Rachel Davidson, all those people were involved. So,
what's it been like to watch the reaction, to have it out there now? Because I'm sure there was COVID, there was strikes. I remember you were about to shoot and then something happened. And what's it like now that it's out there?
I have no point of reference for something like this. I can just tell you it is so wonderful to not only finally have it out there for people to see, but the one thing I couldn't have predicted through all of this was the feedback from the world. I love all the emails and all the messages that I get. I never expected that. But my favorite one is just, I had a guy who watched the show and had to go online and go to my website and figure out how to email me, sent me an email through the Contact Us page. And it just said, I'm a straight guy. I love you and I love your show. That's it. And to have someone reach out, not that I am winning something by having a straight guy say they like our show, because there's a lot of ways into our show. It's not just a gay show. I'm the gay character, but it's or the character based on me. But that's what is amazing. I love that people are finding a way in. Women are writing me saying, I live in England and I never thought I'd identify with someone's story. Can you send me a signed book? That sort of thing. And it's just, that is remarkable. And it just, I don't know if it's feeding my ego or what, but it really lets you know that you're hitting something that people are responding to. And that's an amazing thing, to be able to provide something that people like.
Well, it's such an interesting time for this show to be out there. There's been a backlash towards LGBTQ people, a backlash towards diversity, the anti-DEI stuff. It's just, there's this sort of warrior ethos now coming from Hegseth. It's such an interesting time for this show to be out there because it humanizes all of the different characters and you see them all together. And I don't know, it just feels more meaningful than it would have 3 years ago. What can you say about this moment and this show?
I hear you on that so well. When I look at the people that I met going in, what I'm aware of from my experience and the people that I've dealt with is that as soon as you're in that military environment with all those people from all walks of life, your worldview is instantly expanded.
Right.
You're meeting people and interacting with people that you wouldn't. And so, look, I had to overcome some of my own prejudices to cohabit a space with people that I'd not ever lived with or slept in the same room with before. It's the great equalizer. The senior drill instructor gives us a speech the first night. And I've heard from so many other Marines that they get the same exact speech. And it says, look around, look to your right, look to your left. There's no more black, white, brown, yellow, green. Oh, sorry, I stepped on that. There's no more black, white, brown, yellow, or anything. There's just green. You're all green, light green, dark green, and in the fuck between green. Mm-hmm. And that's where the title of the book came. And I'm like, and a little bit pink. So, it's a chance to look at, like you said, all the different people and all the different characters and all their reasons for being here. They're after one thing. They're there for a common goal. defend our Constitution. However, everybody comes in with their own stuff and their own background, and that's what we're celebrating in our military. So I'm thrilled that we are filling up some of that gay space that is evaporating instead of expanding, and but also I'm so happy about all the other stories.
What do you know about the numbers? Because it seemed like it was doing well, but you never know with streaming, right? Like, do you feel as blind as consumers feel in terms of like, wait, I thought that show was doing good and now it's gone. What's happening?
Yes, the numbers are good. The numbers are really good. There are some public numbers out there for, they'll talk about the difference between week 1 and week 2 and things like that. And I love that. The rankings help a lot. They are honest rankings. Netflix isn't placing those
They're
things
not cooking
in the top
the books.
10.
Right. So if that's the number one show this week on Netflix or whatever.
Right. And we made it to number 2 and we were in the top 10 for a month, and we love that. And we made it to the number 1 in, I think, 17 or 20 countries. The pride in me wants to say it's 20, but it's done really well. I'm so excited that we're delivering a hit, not just for me and my story, but for those actors that work their ass off, for Norman Lear's memory,
And he was an executive producer on this, and we talked in our previous interview about your long relationship as a mentor and a friend to him. What do you think he would make of this, having it out there?
He would be delighted. He would be tickled pink. I've had all of his kids have reached out to me to tell me how much they love it, and even, said Dad would be so proud, and he would be absolutely eating this moment up, because it's something that he was so close to, his military service. A lot of people don't know that Norman was a World War II combat veteran.
Right.
He flew a lot of missions. If you're looking for a good book to read, by the way, his memoir, the guy who made television and so many movies possible, is fascinating. It's called Even This I Get to Experience. I have a copy right over there. And that's a chance for people to see not only where he came from and where some of his ideas were formed, but about his patriotism. He was so excited to serve his country and go off to war and protect our flag. So that's, the way I look at it, and Norman was such a great example. We take an oath when we enlist in the military. We never untake it. Right.
That's profound. How do you celebrate Veterans Day? It just happened. Do you do something special?
I don't. I've been to Denny's to get my Grand Slam breakfast. I try to be of service. That's really the best way for me to honor my service, is to continue that service, right? Yeah. So I this year I went down to the pier in Santa Monica and listened to the speeches that were given on the pier by the city council. I sat with the mayor and just met a Medal of Honor recipient and a 4-star general and people. I'm not the only one with a book of stories. I don't know a person that has served in the military who doesn't have a book in them.
Yeah, I love that. What was it like to be on the set and see them recreate the rooms you were in? Was it weary in a way?
Wild, Dennis. It's so crazy. Of course, I'm trying to hover and be objective as a producer and a writer, and not the person that it's about. But the care that 400 craftsmen came together to write the story, direct the story, perform in the story, build the sets, make the food and the craft services. I am so gobsmacked at the people. I met every single person that worked on the show. I tried to have a moment and interact with everybody through the 2 years that we filmed. I can brag on the set designer. She went to Paris Island for a tour.
Which is where you went through basic training.
Which is where we went to basic training. And she left with a set of blueprints. And the set that you see in that squad bay is an actual exact replica of mine and Dale's squad bay. So where every light switch is, every pipe, every toilet, every shower head, the drill instructor's office, when a little fun trivia, when you go to speak to the drill instructor, you have to bang on the door, bang on his hatch, as they call it. And there's a handprint there to show you where to hit, because Marines eat a lot of crayons, as you've heard. And so that's my handprint to Bang on the Wall. And
it's your hand. Your hand got to be the print.
And then when we wrapped and I got back to LA, there was a package waiting and the carpenters had carved that out and shipped it to me.
Do you have it right there in your house?
I do. It's on the wall.
Is it hanging up?
Because it is. I'll send you a picture. Because
okay, send me a picture. Yeah, I don't expect you to take it off the wall.
They even built a frame.
That's incredible. Was it weird to be standing in these rooms?
Yes.
Wait, what's happening?
Totally. Now, Dale came with me to set a lot of times.
Now, Dale is your best friend who is the director of Ray in the piece, right?
He's played by Ray in the show.
Yeah.
He becomes Ray in the show. And he's so excited about this project. You know, it's his story too. And he's been so generous with me from the very beginning of writing the book. You know, he had to sign off and say, you can do all this because his parents there's characters based on his parents in the show and his own anxieties and failures and successes are in there. So yeah, we literally stood there. I have videos of us just standing around, walking around. And then where Miles and Liam stand in the squad bay is where we stood in the squad bay. Our racks are where their racks are. So it was quite special and mind blowing and humbling to think that all these people came together to tell our little story.
The main character or the way in is the gay character playing that's sort of your alter ego, but every character has their own story going on. Like, I think for young men, this would be a really appealing show across the board. Do you get a sense of that? Are they finding it, or does the gay thing keep them away?
They are finding it. Like that guy wrote me that email. Yeah. Straight guy, love you and your show. You know, he's obviously not identifying with the gay character. That's the cool thing. I very quickly learned it. It actually helped people. People say all the time, how did you get through it? How did you have this burden and this secret? Because everybody had a burden and a secret. I learned very early on, I learned it first from the guy that got dropped because he couldn't do a pull-up because of his weight in the show, John Bowman, played brilliantly by Blake Burt.
He's one of the brothers, the two brothers.
The brothers.
Their relationship is heartbreaking.
Oh, you know, and they are so close. They became brothers.
Right.
They are, the whole cast is incredibly close. But so that was the first... That's the first time I ever saw and understood why someone was there and what he was worried about and his hurdle. He was so determined to lose that weight and become a Marine like his father had been and make his father proud. So, you know, then I learned about the character that chose boot camp over prison. His load was heavy. He was so ashamed of that. People come in with so much shame and so much baggage that they want to get over and do something good in their life and do something good for their country, do something that's bigger than themselves that hopefully might eclipse that thing that they're ashamed of.
But the thing that's beaten into them early on is you have to be able to kill. I was struck by how often that sentiment was hammered into them, yelled at them. And that's a heavy thing to think about, isn't it still?
It still is. Dennis, at the end of the day, those drill instructors have 13 weeks to teach us to murder on command without hesitation, without resistance to an order, and without question. It's not an easy job.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I'm sure the yelling, I'm sure their voices were like, we can't do it. We can't turn it on today because it was a performance from them every time in real life and in the show, you know?
They did a great job tempering that, you know, because obviously a lot of drill instructors have frog voice and some don't get over it. And you hear, you know, they end up talking like this for the rest of their life. And so our actors, yes, exactly. You know, 8 shows a week, you gotta keep that instrument ready to go. So they had to temper that, but not one of them did anything but an exemplary job. Look, that was what was so cool. You've been in a lot of productions before, and I think about your Mismatch charity game, right?
Yes.
It's hilarious and brilliant. And what's fabulous and heartwarming to me and watching and probably to you producing is how seriously those comedians take the roles they're assuming, you know? When Jackie Beats B. Arthur, Jackie Beat says, I'm going to be B. Arthur.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to be on that set and to watch these actors all fighting and striving for authenticity. And that's what I was going to finish that thing about the set design. I'm so grateful to Netflix and Sony for asking for that authenticity. You know, we had 3 Marine writers in the writer's room, and then another 3 Marine military advisors on set every day.
Wow, that's incredible. So the showrunner is Andy Parker. How would you interact with him in terms of like, would he ever go, is that what it was like, Greg? Or how did you find your way into the day-to-day of the writing and the making of it?
You know, I trusted that man with my life, and I'd do it again. I would go up any mountain with him. He's not only a stellar writer, as you can tell from the words that you see, but he's also just a lovely human. He had his own unique way into the story. When he was growing up as a conservative, the son of conservative parents in Arizona, he actually had the Marine drill instructors come over to his house to kind of throw his parents off the gay scent. And you know, he didn't become a Marine, but when he got the book...
Bought him a couple of years.
Yeah, bought him a few years.
Secret,
He threw him off the scent.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good... Hey, people, if you're looking for ways to get your parents off your back, just say you're going to join the Marines. But he had such a brilliant way in. He cherished the book and speaks... He's out, you know, doing these just like I am, and he's speaking like he really feels about the book. Look, you've read the book. I wrote the book as... not only my answer to combat bullying when the stories started becoming prevalent and young teenagers were ending their lives rather than holding on for one more day and learning that they matter, not the bully. It also was a chance to look at all these different characters. So any TV writer wants a rich character of landscapes with which to paint on. And we did it. So when I wrote the book, I was very careful about describing this world in a rather meticulous manner because I needed people, only 0.1% have been in Marine Corps boot camp.
Yeah.
So I needed to really paint that world because obviously I was writing the book as a book, but as you know from our talk 9 years ago, it was always TV was always the plan.
Yeah. Kudos for getting the shorts right, for going full on silkies. The shirts that they're not like so many times people go longer than what they really were like because they just don't have the balls, literally. So well done.
Thank you. Those are authentic. Those are all the uniforms and all the insignias and everything is real. The boys were such great sports about all of that. The head shaving, we filmed in New Orleans over 2 summers. It was hot, just like Paris Island. So they all get special props for even accomplishing this.
When you were watching, I assume you were on set a fair amount or all the time.
Yeah.
When you're watching the physical stuff, was it like, oh man, I did that obstacle course. I remember what that was like. Are you having like visceral flashbacks?
All the time. And it's fun now. It's actually it was fun to watch the show as an audience member after obviously writing the book and then being in the writer's room for all the drafts and all the scripts and all the episodes and then all the edits of all the episodes, for the past 2 years. It was great to just sit back and watch it I did not have the ability or the need to give any notes. And yes, that's the kind of thing that comes through. That's when I can, instead of hovering above it and thinking about all the moving pieces when I'm building the show with the showrunner, it's a chance for me to really relive it. And everything, the forced marching, the nerve-wracking showers, if anybody thinks those showers are an exciting time, they're not. It's nerve-wracking.
Right, because you're afraid somebody will notice something about you, or you're afraid you're going to get turned on. Like, what's the fear about?
The last thing, you want to get popped in the face, pop wood. So you certainly don't want that.
Wow.
I was trying to keep it secret and trying to fly under the radar.
Yeah.
So, I spent a lot of time concentrating on not letting my eyes move. I remember when the recruiter first asked me at 18 years old, was I a homosexual? And I didn't know he was going to ask that question. I didn't know it was illegal to join. I mean, we kind of had heard. So going in and being asked that question by the most macho person I'd ever seen in my life was off-putting. And I had to really focus on not changing the direction of my eyes or flicking them or anything. I had to be just, I don't know. It was a wild moment.
Well, speaking of that idea, there's something that you guys do in the show, a device that you use that I've never seen done before, and I think it's so brilliant, which is the main character, Cam, played by Miles Hauser. His gay alter ego will appear in scenes with him and be like, girl, who do you think you're fooling? And there's a comedic element to it, but also there's this thing of like, you are killing your real self. Look what you're doing to us. It's devastating. Can you talk about the idea of that? I think it's brilliant and so well played. And his subtle things where he's just a little freer with his body. He's a little freer with his hands. He's a little freer with his eyes. And I mean, I could think of moments like that where I was trying to play it straight or whatever, not be found out. And there was probably another part of me that's like, this is bullshit, A, and also this is bad. You shouldn't have to do this. This is killing your soul.
I'm so glad that you took those things away from that character. Andy calls him Inner Cameron. And, that was...
Sassy Cam.
Sassy Cam. The idea was born from the book. In the book, I use my inside voice to comment on what I'm going through, and that's for the reader and the audience. Because, again, like I said, nobody's been through it. So I describe something in the book, very militaristic or different, and then my inside voice says, oh, it's just like Dorothy Lamour in the 1940 movie, whatever.
Right.
So I hook it up to something snarky and funny, often with a pop culture reference, so that the audience will be able to appreciate that moment. And so Andy took that and used that to create this device of this unseen character. And I didn't know that he had used that for quite a while, and then he told me. So, the things that you're picking up, especially you're moving, the heartbreak about saying goodbye to your inner self, because that's what Cameron's there to do.
Yeah,
He's there to, he says from minute one, I want to change.
Yeah.
We also should speak to the fact that, we created the character of Cameron Cope.
Right.
To be different from Greg Cope, so that everybody was free to write it and do things, because we want to take him places, and we do take him places already, that I didn't go. And we want the chance, if we get more seasons, we'd love to take him other places. So it was important for me as a writer to not write me,
right,
and the other writers in the room to know that they weren't, yes, they're writing me and my story, but they're free to do things that I wouldn't do and couldn't do.
Right.
It just worked out well that Miles and I think that we look a little bit alike, so...
Well, and also watching the show, I guess it doesn't matter your background, but you don't want Inner Cam to get locked in a trunk and put away. You don't. Like, I think it's powerful, the message it's sending through those scenes especially. I get a little choked up from time to time on this podcast. So there's that.
Because you're a human?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that and a number of other things. In our last interview, you talked about your first sort of big sexual affair was with an officer. Am I right? If I'm getting this right, who you later found out got kicked out. And when I listened back to our interview, I was like, oh, that's kind of what happens on this series, although it's probably not in the book because it happened later. So that part of the show, was it at all inspired by that affair that we talked about last time?
Yes, and more. That was where Andy wanted to take that character, and I was, it was, as you know, being in a writer's room, you offer up all your stories, but so do all the other people, and so that it wasn't a difficult story to pitch to, but yes, and that is in my next book. I'm gonna because that affair and the event and the result from that, it ultimately is what led me not to re-enlist.
Yeah. So wow.
So I have a lot to say, but it's a really funny story. It's a great story. It's hot AF, but it's also heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. And you were in the Marines for 6 years or something, right?
I liked it.
Yeah, you liked it. But then that affair thing was the thing that was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, and I can go into more detail about that and I do in this story that's the next book. But basically, I was planning on becoming an officer and going to law school and then serving in the judge advocate group for the Marine Corps. And I went to officer candidate school and finished it. Officer candidate school, by the way, is just boot camp all over again, just a little harder. Yeah. So I went to officer candidate school in Quantico, finished that. I was ready to go. And then due to those circumstances that you're speaking of, I thought, I just can't keep lying to my men. Yeah. I'm so close to them. I know them so much. Why can't they know me?
Yeah. What do you remember about when it became gays were able to serve openly? I guess the fall of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Do you remember where you were? Did it land? Because obviously you were living in LA and doing your thing. But what do you remember about that?
It was such an exciting time. We were having, marriage equality and that, and all these great developments were coming. So it really just, honestly, Dennis, I was glad to still be here to see it all. That's what, I'm not a young person.
Right.
I'm 65 and I don't hide that. And I never thought that I would live to see the day when my story, a gay story about being a gay Marine, would not only find light, but find an audience and be able to say, and let's find an openly gay actor. Yeah. I never thought I'd see that.
And several in the cast, that wouldn't have been available or out or whatever a few years ago at all. Like, it feels like there's so much darkness and sort of scary forces happening in our world right now. And your show, just like a weed poking up through the sidewalk, was like, nope, we're still here. There's something about it that, in spite of all of these other forces, kind of crept through. Do you feel like that little blade of flour trying to get through the cement?
I do, but I'm standing on a lot of shoulders to push through that cement.
Right.
I'm standing on Norman Lear's shoulders. Norman had the chutzpah to have gay and trans storylines on his shows beginning in 1971.
Right.
The episode for All in the Family I'm speaking about, where Edith lost her religion because Beverly was murdered.
Right.
That's a trans character in 1971. In 1976, Mary Kay Place, Mary Hartman, they had a same-sex marriage on the show. The old show All That Glitters, Linda Gray played a trans character on that. George Jefferson had an army buddy that came back on the Jeffersons that was now transitioned. So, those kind of ballsy moves by Norman allow my blade of grass to poke up.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful thing. There's a number of moments that made me cry in your show, but the one that got me,
do we need to send you to boot camp to toughen you up?
Please. The sooner the better. The people who are listening to this are like, oh my God. It's a raw time. Anyway, Vera Farmiga, who plays his mother, who is not the perfect mom. She's kind of a hot mess in some ways. She tells a story about when Cam was being bullied as a kid, and he was painting or something, doing something creative on the sidewalk, and boys came up on bikes and bullied him. And she observed this and decided not to intervene, that he had to be toughened up. And I think she regretted that. But the line that she says that just ripped my heart out is, she said,
"Good luck getting through it."
Yeah. The world is full of boys on bikes. And
Chilling.
And the world has never been more full of boys on bikes.
Yeah.
And that landed big time.
That speech, Andy Parker wrote that speech, and it was so powerful and meaningful to me. That character is based on my mom. My mom loves it, by the way. She totally gets the cheek, and it's okay to talk about your parents in ways that point out flaws in their character. They're not saints. There was a little narcissism there. I did go to 13 schools in 11 years, but it's a chance to show that everybody has to come to their own terms and their own place with things. We don't all just wake up and we're okay with everything.
Right.
So I love that she has this journey and she has this time of finding out. I mean, what's so wonderful is that as soon as Cameron's gone off to boot camp, that's when she realizes that she misses him.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's doing things like letting this group of Marine moms think that Cameron died so that she could sell cosmetics and stuff like that. Oh, but she has like sex with like the hottest one. There's so many hot guys in this show. It's ridiculous.
It is a full buffet.
Isn't it though? I mean, I don't want to be that shallow guy that's like, girl, but it must have been like, it's a lot.
Look, the guys I served with were incredibly hot. It was. I was so happy to, the cast is so dedicated to the story and so dedicated to each other that they can't be more Marine-like.
What was your relationship like with Miles, who plays the lead?
We're close. We got close. We stayed close. We talk almost every day. I try to. He's such a gifted actor in that he is able to deliver nuance and humor. That was really important. Obviously, from the book and the show, comedy is really important, and he just gets it. So I thank my lucky stars every day that he is who he is so that he could play this part. And he's lovely, by the way.
Yeah, he comes off so great. And then there's the actor that plays Sullivan, Max Parker, who's also openly gay, super hunky, but tormented in the show, like heartbreaking, right?
Yeah, it was terrific to find Max as well. Max, he's British, and Norman saw him and knew he was a star. It's a performance that stays with me, just like the characters in the book will always stay with me that are drawn for these characters. I love Max. He's a wonderful guy. We just were talking this morning. He lives his own life out and proud, and it's so important for the people that are watching him, fans and other people, to realize that he's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk.
What's it like to be around the young men? Because I think the younger generation isn't as hung up on things about gender and sexuality, perhaps, than maybe the way we grew up. But they've also got a lot of challenges. Like, the older generations have kind of done them dirty economically and in so many other ways. Like, what did you observe about being around these young people?
When I had to remind myself that I wasn't a young person anymore, right. because I've still got this story in my head and my place in it. I just think, we're all 18.
I have that all the time in dance class, by the way.
I bet.
I can do that. I can go to the floor. No, you can't.
Yes.
No, Grandpa.
And it's not even that you go to the floor. You just think, we're just all the same. So it was wonderful to hear the things that they're interested in and the things that are important to them. I loved that. Look, they all had the choice to take on this story or not. Look at Kieran Moore. He plays Slovacek.
Yeah.
He has a fantastic story. You'll be watching the Kieran Moore biopic one day. He was a boxer as a kid. Yeah. He was a fighter. And circumstances led to an end to that, and he luckily found acting. So he comes from this really rough British background. And he is a poet, and he constantly took Polaroids of his cast members and wrote poems. And then another actor that plays Cody Bowman, Brandon Tyler Moore, on his days off, he would rather come to set. He's a photographer by hobby, and take pictures of his castmates during their scenes than just kick back at his trailer all day. So it's that kind of thing. They all are so passionate and interested. And look, I don't know how much longer I have left to march around this planet in my boots, but they all made this dream come true for me, and I will do everything in my power to make every one of their dreams come true.
It must have been so exciting as it was about to come out, and there were posters on Times Square and things like that. And to see it through their eyes, when they've been working as actors trying to make something happen. It must have been so fun to be on that ride with them.
Here's how fun it is. So Mo Mason, the character that we lose in the gas chamber, is played by Logan Gould. Logan's currently in the Broadway version of Stranger Things. Mm. So one night in New York, Brandon, that I just spoke of, Blake, we all waited for Logan to get out of his show, and we all went down to Times Square to take pictures and hop around in front of the billboard for boots. And I just thought, this is a moment, guys. We waited on you to get out of your Broadway performance.
Yeah.
And now we're down in Times Square looking at you jiggling around on a giant billboard. Yeah, I don't take any of those moments for granted. And probably like you, we both moved here for show business.
Yeah.
So these moments are the jewels that fill that crown.
You know, I've been listening to a podcaster named Scott Galloway for a while now, and other people in the culture as well, but talking about young men, talking about masculinity. And when I hear them speak, I relate to parts of it, having grown up a man, but also I feel like because I was gay, because I was the sissy artsy kid, there were certain masculinity tests that I didn't have to pass. Everyone played Little League. I didn't play Little League. Everyone became an Eagle Scout. I didn't quite make it. Everyone went on Mormon missions. I didn't quite do it. And I got a little bullied, not a ton, but because of that, I was sort of able to be my own guy. And I feel like for people trying to prove their straightness all the time, it's fucking exhausting to constantly have to prove your masculinity. So when I hear a story about somebody writing poetry or one of your guys coming and taking pictures, that feeling like they're free enough to explore those quote unquote softer parts of themselves. Like, it wasn't easy growing up gay, but at least I didn't have to keep constantly trying to prove my masculinity. I sucked cock. It was out. That ship had sailed, and now I was free in a way.
You were popular.
And yeah, I don't know how this relates to your story or what you're talking about then, but when I see young men, and especially at a boot camp where they're constantly trying to show how tough they are, right? That's the whole name of the game. I don't know. I just think I think in some ways being gay freed me from some of these things that are so hard, I think, in our society now for young men.
I think you're right, and our stories are so identical because I also, as you know, was raised Mormon and had those same friends all going off to the missionary, and they were ticking boxes that not only were proving their masculinity, whether it was the Eagle Scout or the mission, but they were also showing me that they were maybe better than me because they were able to commit to a cause. Now, it's a cause I didn't believe in, so I let that go.
But they were doing what they were supposed to do, and you weren't.
Yeah. And by going into the Marines, I was saying, let me do what you do and see if I can do it. And if I can do it, then I'll sit back and relax. So I think what the realization that I certainly had, and maybe you've had this as well, is that moment where you realize you don't have to prove anything anymore. And it was once I became a Marine, I kicked back. But until I became a Marine, I didn't know what. I was like, where's my place in this world?
Right.
If I also know that I'm gay. That's the cool thing about the book and the show. Being gay is not the issue.
No,
it's not. It wasn't my issue going in. It's not Cameron's issue going in. The issue going in is, how do I be a man? We weren't, what I love about overcompensating, Benny Drama does such a great job of that. His problem is, I don't want to be gay. How do I be gay?
Right.
We didn't have that problem. We're like, we're gay. How do we be Marines? Yeah. So it's a different lens. But I think a short answer to this longer answer is just, there comes a time when we hopefully all reach a place that we're comfortable enough not to prove anything to anybody else except ourselves.
Right. That we all can be our authentic self. And if that means you want to do the butch things or whatever, great. But if you're not into it and you're trying to perform it, I think it takes a toll, right?
Look at the kids today. How refreshing is it to have friends of ours that are parents that are letting their kids pursue whatever they want? I did a show at Pepperdine a couple nights ago, and a fellow Marine friend of mine, James Bain, great guy, 6'5" poster boy Marine, and he's got this terrific 4-year-old, and he's telling me about his son's ballet class.
That's awesome.
And that's what I'm talking about. He is there to champion his kid that wants to study ballet.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. You said,
I hope he plays Little League and does everything else too. I hope he does whatever he wants. But
yeah.
I just loved hearing the tale that he was enjoying his ballet class.
You said
you and I didn't have that. We didn't.
No, I would have wanted to. I would have wanted to, but I remember dancing in this back room behind our house and feeling like if I got caught, it would have been bad. It would have been a kid.
Did you ever get caught?
Huh? Dancing?
Did you ever get caught?
No, not that I know of. I wrote that in a script recently, like this kid dancing, but feeling like if he got caught, it would be bad. Yeah.
The movie Billy Elliot examines that.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautifully, the play in the movie. And that character has a burning desire to express himself artistically, and the reason we love that movie so much is because the people come around to support him and let him know that he gets to do that too.
Yeah, beautiful. I want to talk a little bit more about the reactions to the show, because Netflix is international. So are you hearing from people in other countries? Like, just throw out a smattering of like the kinds of stuff. And where do you hear from them? On Twitter? On Instagram?
Mostly on Instagram. I'm getting more messages than I can answer, which is such a problem to have. I'll get to them all. And then I have a website, and people email me questions too. I got 2 emails this morning from Germany for just wanting to buy autographed copies and ship them to Germany. But what they're telling me is, one of them today was a woman saying, I'm not in the military. I'm just a straight woman, but I identified with so many characters in your story and the struggle and everything. And I just want to keep reading and learning more about it. So I would say the most popular countries I hear from are Great Britain and Australia. Mm-hmm. And then tons from a lot from Germany, and I've had some stuff from Brazil. People want the book in foreign languages, and my agent is working on some foreign deals, but right now it's just in English, unfortunately. And then, it is in 180 countries on Netflix, and so you can watch it in whatever language you speak.
What's Netflix been like to partner with? You came up through.
This is my 4th project with them.
Yeah.
They're wonderful because they take on projects like this. I've done 3 movies for them so far. This is my first TV project with them. They're passionate storytellers, and not just the pod that we work with, but the people that market the show are so excited. We had when it came time to release our trailer, we had we went down to San Diego and had the San Diego Gay Men's Chorus record a cover of George Michael's Freedom. And yes, it was powerful to be in that room with these people singing, because 1/3 of them are veterans at San Diego. But then also they're all, we're singing a song about freedom that was written and performed by a gay artist that's going to be used for a show with several gay characters. I'm not taking this moment lightly. I'm not taking this at all for granted. I realize what a gift is, and this, you opened up at the top of this piece about how opportunities for marginalized communities are shrinking.
It feels like they are, aren't they? They are, right?
Yeah. They canceled English Teacher,
which is heartbreaking to me. I'm like, if that show isn't good enough, then what? It's so funny, and they're also talented. Past podcast guests, by the way, Brian Jordan Alvarez.
Very nice.
The needle drops in the show are amazing. Wilson Phillips, come on. I'm in. Right out of the gate, Wilson Phillips.
I'm going to give the majority of that credit to Andy Parker again. Yeah. He had such a strong vision for that music. And, we're blessed to, no shade on Ryan, but remember, we're in Norman Lear's boot camp, not Ryan Murphy's boot camp. Yeah. So there's no anachronistic music or anything like that. So our composer was amazing. Our music supervisor, Sarah, just people were so into the music. It was great. It's a great chance to punch up this, what can be a drab world.
Right. It gave it life. Like, okay, there's a place for me here because there's Wilson Phillips.
I think there's a Spotify playlist somewhere.
Oh, how fun. How fun is that? I want to talk about getting older, because you mentioned that at one point during this thing. I turned 60 a year or so ago. I'm 61 now. And I've had some realizations, and you may or may not share them. And I also love celebrating you, because you're an example of, like, no, big things can come true still, no matter how old you are. But there was a sense of, like, I was like, I'm going to, stay relevant. I'm going to be youthful. I'm going to do whatever. And I'm, whatever. But then you sort of get up there, and then you realize, you don't really get a vote. Like, some of these things just happen without you. Like, I don't know. There are days where I'm like, does my email still work? Like, you know what I mean? And I don't think it's personal, and I don't think it's age related. It's just the way things go. Like, the people that used to hire me were usually older than me. Well, they're dead or gone. So it's not like a complaint about the way things have always been, or that and there's any malice around it. But there is like, these dynamics that come into shape, and you could try to like, hip hop dance your way through it, but you don't always get a vote.
Watch your hip.
Huh?
Yeah, watch your hip.
Watch your hip. So what do you think about where you are and what you've observed about getting a little older in this business and life generally?
First of all, a funny story is because I, like you, I still think I can do anything, and I don't think of myself as, it's like those cows in Sweden. There's a farmer in Sweden who lifts up his cow every day. And by lifting up his cow every day from when it was a little tiny calf, there's no reason for him not to be able to lift that cow when it's 2,000 pounds, because he never noticed a huge weight change. He was lifting it every day. So I think that may be an urban myth, but you get the
right.
The,
no, exactly. You build habits.
So the writer's room is starting, and we had to find a link to do something, to download something, and I couldn't do it. I'm very savvy with the things and the computers and all that stuff, I think.
But you probably hit your ceiling of like, I cannot do one more link. I can't, I
couldn't do it. And I had to write to the writer's assistant to say, hey, this link isn't working. Can you let me in this way or whatever? And she was like, she treated me like an old person. She's like, don't worry. I understand. I got it. This stuff is tricky here. Boom, boom. And I thought, she probably thinks that that's normal for me, that I can't do that. But no, I'm reminded of my age when I, am I looked over because of my age? Sure.
Yeah.
Are people thinking, we shouldn't work with him. We need a fresher, younger voice? Maybe. It's the same though when I was first getting staffed on shows, on television shows back in the 90s. I've been out, thanks to the Marine Corps, since I was 20 and comfortable with myself. So this is how I've always presented. If I interviewed with a showrunner for a job back in 93 and they didn't hire me, and that was one of the reasons, I never knew it, but I'm sure those things happen. So I just have to live my life and be grateful that words don't expire. And as long as I can feel like I still have stories to tell and something to get across, then I want to keep trying to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And also I've had this moment a lot recently where there are people in my life, some are closer and some are, more acquaintances or whatever, that are like, I look at what they're up to and they're like killing it and they feel like my peers because they're creative and whatever. But I'm like, they're in their 40s. They're my peers in terms of our interests and our passions or whatever, but they're at a different point in their life. And I traveled a lot more in my 40s. I had more opportunity. So sometimes those little things are tricky, like where you're like, oh, wait, I'm the age that I am, and it's different. I don't know. It's a bit of a mind thing, but I'm healthy and I can still do stuff. And so that's awesome. But, part of talking about this is I am not equipped to retire. I'm not set up for it financially. So I got to figure something out,
It's true. I don't want to, I don't think we do have an expiration date, but I don't like to predict it. It's not like when I look at the milk and there's 2 days left and I think, I better use all this. No, look, you still suit up and show up, not just to do this, but to host your shows, to dance. You don't have to do that. Yes, the money's great and you want to do all that, but you also are doing it because you want to.
Yes, absolutely.
You feel the drive.
True. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so wild. Yeah.
We can't let anything, the whole message behind my book and the show is we can't let anything stop us from doing what we want to do.
Yeah. And we talked about
one of those is age. Norman was a wonderful example of living and squeezing every drop out of that, out of life. He was still working on our show at 101 and a half when he passed, because that's just who he was.
Where were you in the process when he passed? Had you shot anything yet?
Yes. We shot pretty much all the first 3 before the strike.
Right.
So he'd seen all that.
He'd seen footage. He'd seen actors. He'd seen it starting to come together. That's amazing.
He'd seen all the dailies and all the cuts. He did not see a locked cut, which is what you see before it airs.
Sure.
Because those were just locked this year.
Yeah.
But he was there for all of that. Sorry, I'm keep itching because I just had this haircut for this weekend and I have little hairs everywhere.
That's okay. It looks good. Yeah.
But I had to be squared away. So he was able to see, obviously he got to meet all the cast and talk to them and got to meet Andy and got to meet our other writers on the show, the fantastic Andrea Chenevey and Megan Burke and Dominic Colon, who you might know. He got to meet all those people and I was excited about that.
And I met one of your actors in a coffee shop, and I was like, that guy looks like a sexy actor. Rico, who plays Santos. He's great. This was before the show dropped, so so it was
He is
cool.
great. And he's also, not to keep bragging about the personal lives of our cast, but he's just a really cool guy. He is. You interacted with him and met him. I think you can use the word cool when you talk about Rico Paris.
Oh yeah, he was trying to create some web thing to go with this. Like he was a go-getter. I was into it.
Go on his Instagram. Yeah. I think he made a series, and it's probably up there, of videos about the heartbreak of auditioning and not getting things and trying to carry something through and people being flaky. Yeah. So the difference that we have than we had growing up is that everybody's a creator now. So the stories that you're seeing, sometimes the actors and other young people produce that are unrelated to the show are equally fascinating.
I think they were meeting about that project when I met him. Yeah. Is there something about the pink marine or the show Boots that's very Norman? Like, oh, that's a Norman touch, or that's that. Like, where would you see him when you watch it, or when you think about it?
I think the authenticity, but definitely the humor. Norman loved the hilarity of the human condition. Yeah, and I think what you see are these conversations that the writer's room we were able to capture so well with people sharing their truth, and sometimes that's funny.
Yeah, and also it gets that young men are scatological, they are sexual. Like there's a whole plot line about who the largest poo, and I'm like, that is disgusting, and also yes, that's probably what happened. Did that happen in real life?
I'm sorry I'm not, you know what? I'm proud of this.
Yeah.
That storyline is because that contest is ongoing currently between me and Dale.
Do you take pictures? How do you prove it?
Yeah. And I didn't realize that everybody in our families knew about this, but at dinner a couple of weeks ago, his youngest daughter.
What is the goal? Size? Volume?
Yes, it's size. Size matters.
Size matters. And so how often are you, entering a new entry?
Every few months.
Every few months. Okay. A few times a year.
When his daughter found out about that, and she's like, obviously she goes on her dad's phone and her mom's phone. She's like, that explains all those pictures of poo. I didn't know why those were all on there.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's
where are we at in terms of wins? Like, is it about even? Is it about even right now?
Well, we are determined. We are both.
Yeah,
we are
you're both
very
fight
competitive.
To the finish. Yeah,
and I think I'm the winner right now.
Yeah,
but it's been neck and neck.
Yeah,
he had shoulder surgery, and I mean, let's just be graphic. He was constipated for a bit, and that's a leg up.
Yeah,
on that
boom. When it happens, it happens. Yeah. But that whole little thing, and I'm like, I bet this is the truth. There's something that happens about halfway through the season, and I'm not going to say what it is.
And you might want to say just the poo stories because, like we say in the show and very famously in the book, when I got to boot camp and saw that there were no stalls between the toilets, I didn't take a crap for 3 days until I found a private bathroom in the dentist office. So yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's true.
So what's the moment that you saw the midpoint?
No, there's a moment that happens about halfway through that's a little it's devastating actually. And I'm not going to say what it is, but I think as a writer's room, you must have thought like, we're doing this, aren't we? We're going to do this. I think you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yes. There are stories that come out now and tragic stories that we obviously want to include in any work that we're doing, but yes, there are unfortunate accidents, and there was just recently over the past few years, several recruits have perished at Parris Island either due to a training exercise, a medical event, or there's been a couple of suicides. So we're trying to paint the most complete picture that we can.
Yeah. I think it would be hard to be in the military now. I don't want to get into politics, but I think it would be, I'm thinking of that moment where they called all the officers together and they all sat there for the speech and the faces. And anyway, we don't need to get into that stuff.
I want to just shout out to the actor that played drill instructor Sergeant Howitt, Nick Loken, because that scene and the turn that he takes in that scene based on the other performance that you've seen him before that just takes my breath away.
Yeah.
In that commanding general's office, Nick Logan is just, he breaks my heart.
What can you tell us about season 2? Is it official? Is it happening? Sometimes they'll bring a writer's room back before they pull the trigger. Like, where are we?
No word yet. We all, we're chomping at the bit. We love how beautifully received the show is, like you started talking about. I'm so proud of that, and I do hope that we get to continue to tell these stories. We've got a lot of stories ready to go where we know where we want to go. Andy has a clear vision about that. So put us in, Coach.
Yeah, I love it. All right, I have one more question for you, but people should all go watch Boots on Netflix. And do you want them to follow you? Do you want them to visit your website, pick up The Pink Marine? The book is still available?
It's always available. I narrate the audio version. If they want to follow me on social media, great. I love when they share clips or favorite moments and tag me. That just makes me so happy. It's things that are available in this day and age that weren't available when I was coming up, as they say. But it's, you're wanting to talk about it with me, considering that we've already talked about a lot of this stuff 9 years ago, is how the message continues to get out, and maybe someone hasn't known about the show or seen it, and they'll go in now. And if you have watched it, binge it again.
I was listening to the interview and I'm like, Greg is awesome. Like, you're just awesome. I loved our previous conversation. And anyway, so I'm happy to shine the light on this thing. And also, you pulled it off. Was there moments along the journey with the strike and the COVID and all of it where you thought, is this thing dead? Did you ever give up, or were you like, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen?
I didn't give up, but I will say that my boyfriend always had faith and would keep me propped up, and Dale had a lot of faith, and it's a crapshoot, as you know, and it was tragic. I had to walk off the set for the writer's strike, and that was heartbreaking because I'm thinking all of this could go away. This dream that I've dared to dream for the past 10 years could just poof. And that's another reason I want to do a second season, because I want to continue to tell these stories that aren't in the memoir. Let's create new stories. Yeah,
I love that. Here's my final question. Is there a lesson that you've taken from having this experience? Like the seeing it all the way through, and like it happened.
It happened. The message that I will always carry through is to believe in the story that you want to tell. And I moved to town with this story. I saw the merit. I told it. I've told it to you before, not on podcasts. I've told anybody sitting next to me at a party or at a dinner for the past 30 years has heard this story, because they're wild and funny. And I'm just so glad that the world is getting a chance to see them so beautifully reimagined by the writing and the acting and the production design. Let's give a shout out to that production design.
It's beautiful. During a time when it really lands in a powerful way. Like its mere existence is powerful, right? Before you even watch a frame of it. So
no, I can't. I honestly, I can't. If I'm acting blasé or casual about having this huge thing happen in my life, I am not. Imposter syndrome is real. I walk around wondering, did any of this even happen? And but I think the moral of the story is, if you have a story that you believe in, be a dog on a bone.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Thank you, Greg. Congratulations. I'm inspired by you, and couldn't happen to a nicer guy. So I hope for season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I love our friendship, and I just think the world of you. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Greg. Thanks again to Greg Cope-White, and congratulations, Greg, on that show. It's so cool that it exists, and seeing the billboards and all the publicity and watching it. What a cool thing. So there you go. All right, the Dennis Anyone bump is real is the point. It took 9 years, but from my interview to that show, you know what? It was just a straight line. That's what happens. Anyway, so this happened. A lot of stuff happened this week. It was rainy in Los Angeles, but I braved the rain twice to meet people who I had on the podcast who didn't live in LA, who I admired. And the first was Stephanie Elizondo Grist. She wrote a book called Art Above Everything that really spoke to me about the journey of choosing a creative life for yourself and the ups and downs of it and how you keep doing it and all the questions you asked and all the fears and all of it. So anyway, I really connect to Stephanie and her message. So I drove to Santa Monica in the rain, and we had coffee. She was in town for a week teaching a class, and also she was doing an event in Long Beach this past Sunday. So anyway, we just talked about things, and it was wonderful. I felt like it was a friend that I hadn't met yet, who was, because of the podcast, and because I think it was my friend Robert Nunez who first told me about this book. He's like, this is what you talk about all the time. So I tracked her down, I stalked her, and then we had coffee, and now we're friends. But anyway, she said something that really stuck with me. We were talking about, I was talking about where I was in my life, and I basically talked to her about, I was worried about money. I'm trying to refinance my house to kind of help myself, and we were just talking about that, and she goes, and she's noticed that the people around her that have more money, that might even be considered wealthy, they're as worried about money as anyone. Like, getting money doesn't make you stop worrying about money. And I thought that was an interesting window into it, because once you start thinking of yourself as wealthy, I think there's things you feel like you have to do because everyone else is doing it, and you have to have the nicest refrigerator, and you have to, and there's this, and what if you lose it, or what if it, like, in other words, having money doesn't get rid of the worries about money. So if you don't like worrying, but you still want to be responsible, maybe there's a balance you can strike where you enjoy your life and have a little bit of faith. And the other thing that we landed on, she talked about, Stephanie, which I really appreciate, is that, like, choosing a creative life for yourself and following that road is almost like a kind of religious faith that you have to have, like a blind faith almost. Like, she compared it to religion. And that really resonated with me. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be okay, but I'm going to be okay. Like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This is what I'm meant to be about, and all of that stuff. And so that was really cool to meet her and to spend that time with her. And then on Thursday night, I drove again in the rain to Pasadena to go see Brian Schaefer read at Vroman's bookstore. He's the author I had on recently, and his debut novel is called Town and Country, and I really loved it. It's about a congressional election in a sort of rural town in the East Coast. It never says where it is, but it's one of those towns where a bunch of gay couples have bought second homes. So there's the locals, and then there's the weekenders, and that dynamic. And he just examines that world from all these different characters, and I loved it. Anyway, I got to see him read. It was very fun. I got to meet him in person, and he's cool. And it was fun to sort of feel like how excited he was to be on this book tour with his first book. And he grew up in Pasadena, so it was like his hometown crowd. So all these people were there that he knew. And then the other thing was, I went by myself, but I ended up sitting next to this guy named Danny, and I liked his haircut. And right out of the gate, I was like, I think I might want to take a picture of your haircut later. It's kind of what I've been doing anyway, a little modified mullet, but it looked cute on him, and he was cute. He looked like Andrew Garfield, and I was like, oof. Anyways, so we were standing in line finally behind him, and I was like, Dennis, ask if you could take his picture. Like, come on, don't blow. You have the chance. You want the haircut. You want to be flirty with him, whatever. So I did. So I took the pictures. He was very nice about it. He's like, yeah, of course. And then I got my haircut the next day, and I think it's kind of cool. It's not that different to the thing I've been doing, but it was cool. So anyway, that was that. And then Sunday was the mismatch game. It was our Happy Blanksgiving edition. And here's something very exciting. Jim Colucci, who is Frank DeCaro's husband, Frank was in the show as Henchy, a Batman henchman, and Jim videoed the whole thing. And I used to video them all the time, but I just have all these tapes, and it's one more thing, and I don't have anyone to do it really. So anyway, I don't often get video of it. So I am going to try to post that video on my Patreon and Substack for Thanksgiving. I'm not sure I can do it yet. I want to get some permissions from people and make sure it works and stuff. I've never done video on those platforms, but hopefully I can do it, and that can be my little Thanksgiving thing, and I'll make it free so that anyone can go see it. So I probably won't edit it because I'm just going to slap it up there and say, here, it's like what you're like, it's like what it's like to be there, complete with all of the, awkward pauses or whatever. But I'm going to try to do that. But it was our Happy Blanksgiving edition. Here's the panel. Jackie Beat as B. Arthur, Nadia Ginsburg as Cher, Danny Casillas as Reba, Danielle Gaither as Gail King, fresh from space in a spacesuit, which I loved. We had Bruce Vilanch for the very first time as Sophie Tucker, who was a character that Bette Midler used to sort of imitate. She was a real person, Sophie Tucker, but she was sort of like bawdy and dirty. Like, I'll never forget it, Like, remember when Bette used to do that? My cousin Ernie said, that character. And so Bruce did that. But here's the deal. He went all the way. He had a makeup artist and a stylist come and help him get into the thing. And he looked just like the pictures you see of Sophie Tucker with the fur stole and the red dress. And he had a glam squad, you guys, and he killed it. It was so special. And that afternoon, Jim Colucci texted me and he goes, "Did you know it's Bruce's birthday tomorrow, Bruce Vilanch?" And I was like, I had no idea. So I was driving to the mismatch game. I felt like I was kind of late. We were starting earlier than usual, and I was like, I'm going to get a cake. I'm going to stop and get a little cake. So I got a little cake at Ralph's, and before the show, I was like, Danny, Google and make sure it's Bruce's birthday tomorrow. Because it's not that I don't trust Jim. It was just like this information that I was like, did he say tomorrow? Or anyway. So it was. So anyway, and we did the cake and we sang and there was a candle and it was really sweet. And it was like one of those things where you're like, should I do that extra thing that's nice? Yeah, you should. Like whenever you get that impulse of like, I should reach out and tell them da-da-da, or I should do that. We all get those little things, right? Like, do that little nice thing you thought of. And then you're like, no, they'll think I'm weird. No, I'll forget. Like, there's some reason that we talk ourselves out of it. Like, whatever. And I always try to follow those impulses. Like, because they kind of come out of the blue a little bit. Like, oh, I should do this. Or I should call that person and tell them I appreciate their book or whatever it is. Anyway, my dog's barking, but that's okay. So we did a cake for Bruce, and that was fun, and we raised like $3,400 for the LA LGBTQ Center. And my friend Robert, who was there, he is really good at getting the bidding going on these card auctions, and like he plays it very well because he'll get it up to a certain point, and sometimes he'll bid on the prize and win, and other times he'll just get other people bidding. So he's our secret weapon in those auctions. And then afterwards, a group of us went to Lala's and had dinner, and it was just a nice group talking. And it just, it was a lot of work getting geared up for the mismatch game. And I felt like afterwards I was like, God damn, did I get hit by a truck? What happened? But it was a great night, and we had a lovely dinner afterwards. And yeah, it was beautiful. And my friend Robert is so sweet. He gave me a gift as a thank you for like the things that I do. And one of the things was a wrapped thing of Milk Duds, which is my favorite candy. Back during the pandemic, they would always have them for like $4 for $5 at Ralph's on special, and so I'd buy them. And then if I watched a movie during the pandemic, like on TV or my computer, I would eat Milk Duds and make it feel like I went to the movies. And I think that's why I packed on so many pounds during the pandemic, because it was like Milk Dud heaven. They're so good. If you haven't had one in a while, you're going to be like, I've been sleeping on these. They're delicious. And the other thing he gave me was, I like to use a thing called Passion Planner, an organizer, a handwritten organizer every year. They do a really cool design, and there's lots of fun prompts in there, but I just like the vibe of it. I like handwriting things. But they're not cheap. They're like over $50. And so last year, they go on sale right after the new year because the calendar's kind of like over. So I bought one from last year, and I was going to try to change the numbers to make it this year, so I could save the money. So I could save like the $40 or whatever. And I think it would have worked. But I was telling Robert this a few weeks ago, and darn it, if he didn't go online and get me the Passion Planner that I wanted, even the right cover and everything. So I don't have to reuse one from this year, next year with numbers changed. even though I do stand by that as a life hack. So it was very thoughtful. It just, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, but I felt really great last night. And I'm grateful for everyone that came out and supported and donated with the cast, and it was just a good evening overall. All right, I think that's enough for this week. Those were lots of So This Happens. So thanks again for listening. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Shout out to Oscar Rosario for mixing the episodes. My theme music is by Mark Daniels for Placement Music. We'll catch you next time on Dennis Anyone. Bye.